Joining me today, I've got Glenn Jessome from Silver Tiger Metals. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us.
Steve, a pleasure to be here, and first time on Deep Dive, so let's dive in.
Well, let's get right into it.
Absolutely.
So, silver. I'll tell you right now, Glenn. We've got a website where we cover everything small cap related. Particularly, we are a bit mining focused these days,
Right.
and the one thing that seems to have the most excitement right now out of basically everything we're covering in terms of data is silver.
Look, you know, we've been in Mexico for almost 30 years out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canadian based. We've been asked to go a lot of places, and we don't leave Mexico because, let's face it, Mexico is the land of silver. We are silver miners, and sometimes you produce in markets that aren't as buoyant, and sometimes you just get a market that just is incredible now. And we see, as long-term mine builders, the next several years for silver are going to be incredible. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. But a little bit of the background on us first, okay? You know, your viewers want to know about investing, I'm guessing.
Yep.
I'm sure they just don't want to hear my life story. They're going to say, you know what, maybe this is some stock that I should buy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell them, and I don't care if you buy our stock or not, but what I'm going to tell you, there's only one way to win long-term in this business, and you build a business.
Yep.
Okay, it's not, I have a drill hole, and I'm going to get another good one, and my stock's going to go up. We've been with Silver Tiger since 17 to now. We're going to deliver a piece of paper in August, which is our feasibility study, which means you can now build your economic mine. That's $120 million later, and that's hundreds of thousands of meters of drilling. But when we drill that first hole, we always end up here in almost all of our circumstances. We built three large mines in Mexico during our careers, and we sold 3 others to majors. So now we're getting ready for the next, which is Silver Tiger, and we're ready to build it, because that's how you make money in this business. You build a real business, you build a cash flowing asset that produces metal, and we're very lucky that our mine is a silver mine.
So I'm feeling a lot of positive energy.
Well,
This isn't your first rodeo
no,
here with Silver
track
Tiger.
record's important.
Yeah,
Very important.
I know that a lot of the mining companies we're talking to, they're a little bit sort of depressed about the ability to raise capital in this environment. How challenging are you finding it?
None, not at all. So since 2020 to now, most people would say it's been a really tough environment. We've raised at Silver Tiger $75 million in those 3.5 years. And that's they were all bought deal financings. And your viewers maybe don't know what a bought deal is. That means that the banks that represent us are BMO, Aid Capital, PI Financial, SCP, who are here, Echelon. I love big syndicates. Those investment banks come and they say, Glenn, you want $25 million to keep doing what you're doing to get ready to build the mine. Sure, that's great. We're going to buy that. So that's a bought deal. So all of that $75 million was bought. That means that the banks had such faith in us. They said, we'll take it, and then we'll distribute it to the institutions. So I think people should look at the quality of who invests in you and how much they invest in a really tough market to show the quality of the team's track record and the asset. So that's $75 million that came in. The vast majority of that was from Franklin Templeton, Steve Land out of San Francisco. Joe Foster from Van Eck put a big chunk of that in. I mean, these are household names in the investment business. Maria Smirnova from Sprott Asset Management put a big chunk of that in. Peter Militis from Merck in San Francisco. Those are the top precious metals funding institutions on the planet. And in the last several years, they gave us $75 million. Straight up bought deal financings, no warrants attached. So no, we don't have any trouble raising money.
Now, reading your marketing materials, if I'm understanding this correctly, you guys are actually doing a PEA in 2025, which is coming after the pre-feasibility study, which that's usually.
Let me yes, because I got to remember. Let's just. I'm the first time on your show, so I got to step back a little bit and say we're in Mexico. We're in the state of Sonora. We love Sonora. Sonora is a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. It's a very business-friendly state, and that's where we are. Why did we get the asset? Let's just quickly, I think we got to touch on that. There's no new discovery in Mexico. You get some fella here saying, I'm in Mexico and I made a new discovery. No, you didn't, because all of the discovery is either under an old Spanish mine from the 1800s, or an old American mine that closed around 1930 when the Great Depression happened. We basically identified this project back in 2017, and it was an old American mine from 1908 to 1930, produced 100 million silver equivalent ounces at an average grade of 2.5 kilos in a 100-ton per day mill. We just looked at that. It was a public company that traded in Canada. Our technical team, remember, we're there almost 30 years. We built a lot of mines and sold a number to majors through those years. That same technical team, they just said, we need to have it. It was a public company, it wasn't for sale. I met with the shareholders and said, look, we have great experience. Why don't you let us take this asset and run with it? So in 2017, I delisted that company, took the asset, and we went to work. And you got to understand a little bit about what the asset is. In Mexico, the assets, we call it, and this is Geology 101 for Mexico, we call the systems a flowering epithermal system. And all you want to think about that is think of a flower. At the top, there's a big bulk tonnage zone, which is easier, really hard, but easier and much more CapEx friendly. You need to develop that first, and you take the cash flow from that, and then you develop your underground mine. Underground mines in Mexico are tough because it's narrow vein silver, and they require a lot of capital. So everything that we've always done has been that classic Mexico mining strategy. You get the stock bulk tonnage at surface, you put that in production, and then you go underground. We're doing the exact same thing at El Tigre. So think about two types of deposits there, okay? And the pre-fees you're gonna see. So the first thing we do is we drill off the stockwork zone, and we figure out what we have there. Reader's Digest version, we came out with our MRE, which is the mineral resource estimate, last fall. And I'm just gonna round numbers here because we don't have a lot of time. We'll do a deep dive later. I'll have all the maps and all the spinning block models. But for today, I want your readers to think, we've already, remember the old timers took 100 million.
Yeah.
We drilled under and around where they were, because they only took a little bit. We've already found another 200 million silver equivalent ounces. 100 million in the stockwork zone at the top, bulk tonnage, and another 100 million underground. We've just started underground. There'll be a lot more there. So what we've done is we're finishing the open pit bulk tonnage to build it. All that work is done by August of this year. We'll come with we already put our PEA out on that last fall. The pre-feasibility study for that will be released in August, and we will build on that. I'll talk about that if you want to in a minute. And then think about the second part, the bigger, that's the first inning of a 9-inning baseball game. The underground, then you will develop into the underground using cash flow from that to drive it. But we don't just wait until the pit's done and in production to do the underground, because as we drilled that, we've also identified in that same MRE another 100 million silver equivalent ounces already in that resource estimate in the underground. So what we've been doing for that through the last year is all the metallurgical work. So what we're going to do is in August, we pre-feasibility, which we'll build the pit on, and then right back to work on the underground. We've developed underground. We're drilling from underground now. We'll get back to exploring that. And in the first half of next year, 2025, I hope the first quarter, but let's say first half, got to be conservative, I'm going to come with the PEA for the underground. Yeah. So the way this game works is everything works according to plan. Next year, I build the open pit. Yep. We have that in production in a perfect world by the end of 2025. I deliver my PEA on the underground first half of 2025. Yep. Probably take another 6 or 8 months to get that to feasibility or pre-feasibility. By that time, I'm cash flowing from the open pit, and then you drive your underground development, and that's what these mines are. They're always an open pit. You go look at them, and people can go to Pinos Altos, Ocampo. It's always a number of pits along the trend, and then they transition underground. That's mining in Mexico.
So that's where we've got separate studies for the flowers.
Absolutely.
And separate studies for
the stems. And it's what we call it in Mexico. We call almost all the deposits for precious metal, flowering epithermal systems. And we're just, the top part of the flower is all done, and we're working hard on the stem right now.
That's an excellent explanation.
It's a simple explanation.
Now, there's obviously an elephant in the room that I got to address. We're talking about open pit. We're talking about Mexico. Glenn.
Look, I'm going to tell you something.
Give me some comfort.
I'm going to give you some comfort. So we don't have time, and I don't want to talk about your competition, but I did an interview last week with the Mining Journal out of London. Okay. It's 40 minutes. We don't have the time, but I'll give you a Reader's Digest version. But I want to steer your people to this. Okay. We did 40 minutes on just what's happened since Claudia Sheinbaum won the election. And it's incredibly positive. Okay, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, but I would like your guests to go and look on my website. Okay. Under, I have an investor section, and I have CEO interviews there. Yep. And I do one a week or one every 2 weeks. The last one I did was this one. They should go listen to it. I don't care if it's our company or if they invest in any other company in Mexico. You should listen to that because it really gives the lay of the land with respect to what we see happening. Now remember, you want to know about that, okay? Open pits were never going to be banned in Mexico. I've been saying that for year after year after year. AMLO's administration was very difficult. Yep. He gave no permits. The person he had running Semirnat, which is the environmental who gives out the permits, didn't issue any. But we saw that, but really we didn't worry about it because the whole 6 years he was there, I've been spending that $120 million to get ready to have the piece of paper in my hand to build the open pit starting this fall or start of next year. So it didn't affect us, okay? But there was always a worry about what's going to happen as we transition to a new government. AMLO said point blank, not the new president, not Claudia Sheinbaum.
Not Sheinbaum.
No, he said, AMLO. I'm going to get rid of open pits. I'm going to get rid of open pits. Well, guess what? He's not going to be president anymore. Yep. He's not getting rid of open pits. So everybody said that was going to happen. So all those people, he's getting rid of, it didn't happen. And we always knew it wouldn't happen. People got to understand, of the 800 million silver equivalent ounces produced in the world, 150 million of them come from Mexico. Mexico is a big mining country. All of all the ore processed in Mexico today, 92% of it comes from open pits. Do you really think they're getting rid of that? No, 72% of all the ore for precious metals comes from open pits. They're not, they never were. Now, Mr. AMLO, and I'm not being critical, he was Democratic elected, very popular. That's what the democratic process is, and the people of Mexico chose him. He did not promote or drive forward the mining industry, but it really did not affect us. I just told you in the last 3 years with him there, I raised $75 million and bought deals from the smartest people in the world. They're pretty smart people to drive to the point where we'll drive this mine forward. Now, let's talk about the future. Claudia was elected, Sheinbaum. I think, and you got to listen to my video, it says right on the very positive outlook. She is a very, very smart person. She won a Nobel Prize. She ran Mexico City. Go look at how a person will manage one business if they manage another. She ran Mexico City incredibly well. She had a 200-page plan for Mexico City. It's a big city. That's 30 million people. That's like running Canada. Yeah. So basically, all kinds of private investment into the system there, did a wonderful job. She's not going to change, we didn't think, when she won election. So here's what I want to steer you to, and your people should listen to this on there. She was elected, and 36 hours after she was elected, now she's not taking power till October 1st. There's a transition here, okay? 36 hours after that, she came out and kind of shocked the world a bit. She appointed her finance minister. Like that's kind of unheard of. So why? And that finance minister was given a message by her, okay? And I'll read his digest version, but that whole message, that 3.5-minute message, he set up on the Tuesday morning after her election a conference call with every financial institution on the planet who wanted to listen, Wall Street, London, and this person came forward and said, this is the message I want to put out there, because the peso started getting really hit. Yep. Went from 16 to 18. Okay, against the US dollar, and that's not a strengthening, that's a weakening. So she wanted to calm the markets, so she put the message out, and it was very clear. It said, we are wide open to foreign investment. We are going to manage our debt percentage to GDP. Rule of law is going to be extremely important. The Canada-US Free Trade Agreement is front and foremost, the trilateral agreement for us. And that message was canned and it was sent to everybody and it calmed the markets. Now, that message, in that interview I said I did that's on the website, that entire 3.5 minutes I plopped it right in the middle of the interview. So anybody can go listen to it. Not just the people from Wall Street or London, and it was a strong message. Now, we said, okay, we took that as a very strong message. She was going to be pro-business. But what happened for us in the last couple of weeks really buoyed us that it's going to be a very pro-business, pro-foreign investment government. And why? She appointed Marcelo Ebrard as her Minister of the Economy. Now, the Minister of the Economy is probably it's like their Minister of Finance. It's probably the most important position in the government next to the president, okay? He was the person who actually ran against her. As you know, you see the Republicans and the Democrats, how they do it. He was the person who wanted to be the president and ran against her, and she won. But she made even that person her number two. He is, in our opinion, an absolutely pro-business person. We have known him for a long time. He basically was one of the negotiators of the free trade deal with Canada and the United States. And he came out afterwards. And when we saw that, we knew that it was going to be a very, very good pro-business government. And the person who was, Vanessa Barcenas, who was appointed as the head of Semernet, a very knowledgeable mining person, and also another pro-business person. So that happened about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. Marcelo Ebrard came out and made a speech the next day. We listened to it, and incredibly, look, we are going to be the nearshoring country for the United States. We're open to foreign investment. The Canada-US Free Trade Agreement with us is priority for us. So when we saw all that, that's a strong message. Now remember, all this, and she's not going to be president until October 1st. So everything we're seeing is basically absolutely leading us to believe that that this is going to be a very, very good thing for Mexico, very good for foreign investment in Mexico. And if you want my opinion, I think in her 6 years there, because of nearshoring alone, just look at the big picture from 40,000 feet, she has the opportunity to turn Mexico into just an economic powerhouse, and and a lot of that will be based on foreign investment. We're foreign investors, and so we're quite excited about what's happened in the first several months since she's been elected. And go read that for a deep dive. Back to our circumstances as far as our permit, we're very strategic in how we did things. What was really nice is when I bought that public company, which we delisted and took the asset in 2017, they had already had an underground permit for an 800 ton per day operation issued as of right. We've kept that alive and we've protected that permit. So a year ago now, we knew we were getting very close to building, and you need to have an expert. I'm a securities lawyer trained. Okay. I'm very good at raising money and dealing with Wall Street and Bay Street, but I'm not the guy who's going to build that mine. People don't want that. Yeah. Now, but you need to get the best. So about a year ago, we were so fortunate that a person that we had great respect for in Mexico, Francisco Albalez, left a company called Argonaut, and he joined us as our COO. And Francisco, the 10 years before that, had permitted, built, and ran two of the biggest mines that were built in Mexico, El Castillo and Patala. These were 55,000 ton and a 45,000 ton per day operation. We're going to build a 15,000 ton. So this is the guy who basically we were so happy to get. So he joined us a year ago now. About a little more than a year ago. And what his job was, you're going to build it, Francisco, because we knew we're ready. Yep. So he said, how we're going to do this on our permit. I'm getting that. I said, how are we going to do the permit? He goes, we have a permit. We have all the cyanide. We have all the Merrill Crowe approved for the underground. We're not going to look for a new permit for the open pit. We're going to amend the current permit we have to include the open pit, already relying on some of those environmental approvals that we had. And so that's what we did. That has gone through the normal course. Now, during AMLO's administration, no permits were basically approved. But it's gone through the entire process. We've been dealing with them as well much as a month ago, and it's going through the system. So what we expect that after the new administration gets in place and the new head of Semirnet is in place, that we're basically, will continue, and that we will basically have our amendment issued. And our goal is to start building late this year, or at we hope at the latest, the start of 2025. The build for us, and we can talk a little bit about that, this is why open pit mining is so important in Mexico to make that industry work. Is it's quicker and it's much more low capex. We're basically a 12-month from start to finish to be making metal. And if you want to talk a little bit more about those economics and what they look like, we could, but we're very, very confident we're going to get our open pit permit. I said for a long time, screaming in the dark, that AMLO was not going to get rid of open pits. And guess what? He didn't.
Yeah, he didn't.
But everybody that you it's over. He's going to ban them. Didn't happen. And we think that now you're going to start seeing them get issued when the new administration comes into place.
Well, Glenn, I wish we could go deeper into this. We're running out of time here, but let's connect in like a month or so and do a deeper dive.
What I'd love to do is I'd love to get if there's some interest, and you'll get a gauge back from some of your people. This is what they want to hear about. But what I do want to close this on is the following. This is an asset that basically low capex, like the lowest quartile. Our all-in sustaining cost $11 on silver, that basically is going to come out of nowhere, become the next great silver producer. And that's where we think we're going. So I'd love to do a deeper dive. Thank you for having me, Steve.
Thanks so much, Glenn.
Thank you.